you are now taking political philosophy and religious philosophy and trying to make them have a baby. And I understand that that is a particular fetish of hardcore Christian conservatives, of making that Reagan-era baby always happen. But I would like to abort that baby, personally. Alrighty, so I gotta ask you guys a question. Do any of y'all think atheism is dumb? Like, not do you agree with it, do you agree or disagree, but like, do you think it's dumb? Because apparently a dude named Tom Brown decided to make a video titled that. So I wanted to go ahead and cover that here in a second. But before we do that, let's go ahead and pop into the fan art section. First, we have a this one's from Animakin. It said, Suris mentioned he wanted to be dressed as Sarah from Sonic, but it became a mashup. Hope you like it. I'll ink it next. So, for those who don't know, this looks to be very, very based off of Princess Sarah from the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA. And it's... oh my god. The Sonic fandom is amazingly cringed. But, like, I'm part of the Sonic fandom, so I guess that means I'm amazingly cringe. So here we are. The next one we have is from Giuni Hatsune. They said, wanted to do this one as soon as possible for some reason, but the hat physics got done. Got one of us thinking about the hat being Slime Suris in disguise. Now to finish coloring it and add effects as needed. So the 3D model that was done by Bonbonberry when we put the Christmas hat on it, the Christmas hat was very gelatinous, almost. I need to use the Christmas model again for something. But the gelatinous hat has inspired its own brand of fan art. The next one we have here is from Robotic Kitty, and it is a work in progress of a Raz and Suris Pokemon Trainer fan art. I know what this ends up looking like in the end, but those of you who are watching on YouTube will have to see over time. But I will tell you that the completed version is actually my phone background. Alrighty, with that said, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. And with that said, let's go ahead and listen to what Tom Brown has to say about atheism. I don't make enough atheist content anymore, so let's see what they have to say.
Atheism is the dumbest philosophy to ever face humanity.
Okay, that's certainly a statement. Let's go ahead and do one by one. Is atheism a philosophy? Well, it depends on how you approach it. If you approach atheism as a singular question, just do you believe God exists or do you not believe God exists, then yeah, it's not exactly a philosophy. It's a single question. Now, are there atheistic philosophies? Are there variations of conversations about the subjective or objective nature of morality that can stem from that? Sure, but that doesn't make atheism a philosophy. There are just many philosophies that can be atheistic. It just feels like we're already beginning with a lovely little scope error here. Let's go.
Why is it dumb? Why is it stupid? Well, number one, it makes no common sense.
Okay, so we start again. No common sense. What does that mean? The real question I have to ask here is, when you say that atheism is dumb, it makes no common sense. What does common sense mean? Let's break that down. Common sense is the culmination of biases that you have accumulated up to a certain point. If something does not make sense to you based on your common sense, that doesn't mean shit. It means literally nothing. At one time, common sense was the Earth is flat. At one time, common sense was the Earth was the center of the universe. At one time, common sense was that you needed to drain and balance certain humors of bile and stuff in the body to prevent sickness. Common sense is not a good appeal for anything.
We all know that the universe had an origin.
Do we, though? Do we know that? Do we actually know that? Because from my perspective, we don't.
Was a time when there was nothing. And we all know it's not possible for nothing to create something.
Okay, but hold on. Let's talk about, for a second, the universe, okay? The universe as it exists within the cosmos. Our universe, we know, began as a singularity. Now, whether you want to say that that singularity was formed from a god or what have you, I don't know, nor do I care. But let me ask you a question. Can matter, or energy for that matter, be created or destroyed? As far as we know, it can't. Even the models we use of the universe in science, the models of cosmology that we have as it stands, do not show a universe coming from nothing. They show all energy condensed down to a singular point and then expanding outward from there rapidly. Kind of Valentine, thank you for redeeming your points for an you fucking monster. But because of that, we don't actually have the universe coming from nothing, as it were. That's not how that works. We know that matter and energy, kind of interchangeable in this particular place. That is not a thing that actually stopped existing or came into existence per our current models. Now, are there versions are there versions of cosmology, ideas within it that could have a universe coming from nothing? Well, yeah, quantum physics is a thing. But there's a lovely little joke we have about quantum physics, and that's why I don't talk about it on this channel. If you think you know what you're talking about when it comes to quantum physics, you've already demonstrated you don't. So I'm not going to talk about quantum physics. I'll just talk about the models we do have.
So where did the first elements of the universe come into existence?
Well, they were there for, like, as far as we know, ever. The only problem with infinity is your ability to conceptualize it.
Well, in order for that to happen, you have to have someone outside the universe make it.
Why? Why do you have to have that? Let me ask you something. So if I have a rock that looks really well designed, it looks like it was hewn in just the perfect shape for me to skip across a pond, did that require an outside person? No, it just required a force. In this case, probably wind or water erosion. It didn't require an actual outside person. We don't need to assign personhood onto an outside force or even an internal force.
That's common sense. But the second reason why atheism is dumb and stupid and foolish is that it's bankrupt morally.
It doesn't have to have anything morally, though. Literally, ask yourself a question. Do you believe God exists? If you answer yes, you're not an atheist. If you answer no, you're some flavor of atheist. Boom. That's it. That's it. It doesn't have to have morality, just like you don't have to have a particular morality if you believe in a god. You can be a deist and have any measure of different moralities. You can be a Christian and have any flavor of different objective moralities. Some ascribe to the divine command theory and others don't. You can have a myriad of morality, like different conceptualizations of it, no matter what your theistic denomination.
Even atheists admit that there is a moral universe, that there is a sense of what's right and wrong. So atheists have to try to grapple with, where do we get our sense of ethics and morals?
Where do we get our sense of ethics and morals? Well, here's the thing. As societies evolve, we tend to develop standards amongst ourselves for what's right and wrong, because that's the only way we can possibly coexist with one another. If I, as a person, do not want another person infringing on my personal rights, it probably does me a whole hell of a lot of good to not infringe on theirs. This is, what did you say it was? Common sense? That was the word you used for it. We know for a fact that we develop these things as societies, as we communicate with one another. And then as we have children, those children adopt or adapt to the philosophies that they have been given, not only from us as individuals, but from the societies from which they came. Morality is as socially constructed as money or gender. It is a thing that is real and affects everybody insofar as any idea affects anyone. But at the end of the day, you need to accept that this is not some shining beacon of a thing that did not have any influence from people that live and breathe.
So in the end, without God, then atheists begin to change those moral fabrics. And before you know it, atheists, they adopt a morality based on natural evolution.
Right, so I guess you're kind of already trying to shoot down the idea that I put up just a few seconds ago without even, like, knowing you're doing that. But I do have a question for you, Tom. Let's talk about morality for a minute. I'm going to engage in a fallacy here for just a second. I'm going to engage in what's called a tu quoque fallacy, but it is for the purpose of making a point. Let's go ahead and engage in that for just a second here. Let's talk about good morality. Let's talk about what's right and what's wrong. I have a question, Tom. Would you say genocide is wrong and bad? I would say it's bad. I think if human life has any value, it naturally stems from that genocide is always wrong because human life has value. What value you ascribe to each individual human life doesn't matter. The value is arbitrary. All that matters is that it's there in somebody's mind in some way, shape, or form. If so, then taking that away from someone is wrong. Taking it on a mass scale is double plus ultra wrong. So, why do I bring that up? Well, it is probably everybody who's seen atheist content on the internet knows where I'm going. Can we talk about the flood for like half a second, Tom? You, me, and your God, who committed literal genocide, and then, afterwards, I have another question, Tom. Incest. What are your views on incest? How do you feel about it? I'm just curious. How do you feel about, help me stepbro, I'm stuck? Do you feel like there might be some power imbalance issues? Maybe some moral questions that need to be asked? Okay, cool. So following the flood, Noah's family is all that exists. Who do they fuck? Ignore the obvious problems of genetic bottlenecking that happen here. Who do they fuck and why is it moral? I'm just curious. Anyways, I just want to know if genocide and that are cool. Because if so, then, you've definitely got a different brand of morality than I do.
That only the strong survive. Only the strong rule the weak. Only the smart conquer.
Actually, that is not atheism that says any of that. That is Christianity. Here, I'll go ahead and give you an example of that. Your God is the strongest thing in all the universe. Therefore, he gets to make all the rules. What you're describing as might makes right, and what standard Christianity also is might makes right. Because God has that might. Anybody who happens to be weak and gets to make any rules, the meek shall inherit the earth, as your counter-argument already gets kind of knocked down when you ask the question, but why? And when you kick that can back to because God said so, we're back to the biggest kid on the playground with the biggest stick making all the rules.
So what happens is, in the end, unborn babies that are weak and unprotected, slaves that could not fight for themselves, minorities that...
You know that slaves, Christians owned slaves and argued for keeping slaves too, right? Yeah, duh, there were Christians on both sides of that, but you don't get to claim that Christianity is the one that tries to not have slaves when your own Bible, actually not even your Bible, Jesus himself did not ever denounce slavery. Go through the entirety of the New Testament. In fact, he said slaves need to obey their masters, especially if they're cruel, if they happen to be Christian. So I just have to ask again, morality. Do you think slavery good? Genocide good? Help me, stepbro. I'm stuck. Please don't stick more than the tip in. Good? Because that's what I kind of got from your book.
That could not defend themselves. It's too bad because in atheism, in the end, it's only the strong that should survive. So everyone else who's weak and sickly should all die and go by themselves,
I got a question, though. Hold on. So just what was that about bro and the tip? Don't worry about it, Smacko. You'll know when you're older. But I do have a question, Tom. Another question. I hate having to bring this up. It's really awkward, but can we have a quick chat about something? Because you're alluding to abortion. I know you're alluding to abortion. I'm not going to get into the violinist argument. I'm not going to get into the myriad of ways in which you could defend a woman's right to her own bodily autonomy. I'm not going to do that. Everybody's heard those. It's not super important for this conversation. I'm actually going to do the thing I've been doing this whole episode, and I'm going to flip the script back to you. I have a question. Where do babies go when they die? Because if they have not committed any sins and they are only guilty of original sin, do they go to hell? If they go to hell, then yeah, sure, abortion's the worst thing in the world. Baby goes right to hell. You are responsible for sending somebody to hell. Terrible. Worst thing in the world. Except, I have a question. What choice did the baby have? None, ever. Okay, cool. And if that's the case, then why does somebody else get to dictate whether or not someone goes to hell besides God, except it was God that made those rules? Okay, let's try the other scenario, the scenario where instead of going to hell, the baby goes to heaven. If that's the case, why is this a problem? The abortion's literally just getting more people to heaven. It's like not having to argue with them about whether or not your God is the greatest, and you just get to literally go, hey, by the way, baby gets a fast track directly to heaven. I'm just trying to figure out from that perspective, how is that a bad thing?
And so we have atheism that is weak morally. And the few times that a country decided to implement atheism as its official philosophy,
No. As an official religion, and atheism's not a religion, so we're already in category area, but let's go. So you and I would both agree state-enforced atheism is not good, in the same way that state-enforced religion is not good.
All turn into communism. Look at the...
Wait, what? Atheism automatically turns into communism? When? How? Are you sure it wasn't a regime that claimed itself to be communism automatically, like naturally wanting the state to have more power and therefore taking whatever power the church had? I'm sorry, hard left turn, out my teeth. Yep. If making the state religion turns everything to communism, then I guess we suddenly got rid of all money, all class, and, the state. But if we haven't done that, then I'm sorry, we haven't exactly accomplished communism literally anywhere. But... oh, and for somebody who's like, actually, the USSR... No. If Bernie Sanders became president today, the United States wouldn't suddenly become socialist. Just like China being governed by the Communist Party of China does not make the state capitalist country of China communist. Tencent owns way too much to be fucking communist. I'm sorry. Anyways... you are now taking political philosophy and religious philosophy and trying to make them have a baby. And I understand that that is a particular fetish of hardcore Christian conservatives, of making that Reagan-era baby always happen. But I would like to abort that baby, personally.
Soviet Union, and look at China. Communism is the natural outgrowth of atheism. Because with atheism, there is no freedom, because to an atheist, they're the smart ones and they should rule the dumb ones.
No, you're thinking of what Socrates thought about politicians. He believed that philosophers should be the ones in charge and everybody else should just kind of suck as left one. That is not the same thing as atheism. Atheism doesn't exactly make a claim there. You're doing the Twitter thing where you make up a guy.
So there's an elitist mentality that forms within atheism. It's an arrogant philosophy. It's a philosophy where people don't have freedom because people are too stupid to exercise that freedom.
That doesn't even make a lick of sense. You've made this fanfic up so far, and I have no idea, what we're supposed to be getting from this now.
And to an atheist, they must tell the society how they must live and what they must believe in.
Hold on. What was that I heard from the deep, dark recesses of your brain? Oh, that's right. Projection. I just heard projection. Okay, cool. Let's take that exact statement. First of all, I don't have to defend the fact that that's not the case for atheism, because, again, if you can find where atheism says that, go right ahead. I'll be very impressed. I'll be very impressed when you can figure that one out. But I will say that you have literally given me the argument that Christianity gives all the time. Think about it. Think about it. Everybody must believe the same thing, that Jesus Christ took the sins for everyone. That's a thing your philosophy happens to believe. The idea as well that everybody needs to be presided over. I'm sorry, isn't Christianity literally a strict hierarchy with God at the top and all of us just kind of at the bottom? I mean, even when we get to heaven, we literally have only one choice, and that is to worship him for all eternity. We will even take happiness somehow in the sinners burning in hell. And I don't know how to contort my way around that outside of literal stripping of free will from people in heaven. I'm sorry, Tom. This feels like you're arguing against atheism because you learned all these habits so well from Christianity.
And so in atheism, when it is practiced, we have seen terrible outcomes. I'm here to tell you the truth. If you're an atheist, you have adopted one of the dumbest and foolish philosophies known to the human race. And maybe that's why there's only 4% that even claim to be atheists. Because, as the Bible says, a fool has said in his heart, there is no God. It is foolish to embrace atheism.
I'm pretty sure the reason that there's only 4% of us is because in several countries it's actually illegal to call yourself an atheist. Like, seriously, in Egypt, that's an illegal thing completely. Not only that, there's a lot of social stigma involved in being an atheist. I live in the South. Telling people I'm an atheist down here is really weird, but when people say, hey, I went to church yesterday, that's considered the norm. It's really hard to communicate to people that you're an atheist, depending on where you happen to be geographically, whereas dominant religions of areas, for instance, the United States and Christianity, it's not exactly as hard. Take being a Muslim in the Middle East. Not as hard. But at the end of the day, you've also engaged in a fallacy. Not only have you engaged in oodles of projection throughout the entire video, we have found ourselves very, very neatly into the nestled bumhole of the argumentum ad populum fallacy. You literally said, atheism must be dumb because fewer people believe it. Sir, I wasn't aware that the popularity of an idea had any, correlation to its truth value. I did not realize that in the slightest. But okay, sure, why not? Why absolutely the hell not? But anyway, that was Tom trying to tell us that atheism is stupid. Very, very stupid and dumb. So I want to know what you think in the comment section below. For my take, where I'm sitting, my perspective, is I have no idea why anybody would take a rant like that seriously. But then again, I don't know why people would take a political VTuber seriously, so I guess we're just kind of here. Anyways, with that said, as always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hammer the sig. Thank you very much for redeeming your points for an oh. If you would like to support the channel and what I do, there are plenty of ways to do so, especially over on Patreon. On top of that, there is also the Cuddly Octopus link down there if you would like to get yourself a terrible thing you cannot show your significant other. With that said, though, as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here.